Ever get stuck just thinking about something over and over, like replaying stuff in your head or wondering if you made the right call?
Oh, yeah.
It could be so frustrating. Well, that's actually what we're going deep on today. It's all about how overthinking can really get in the way of actually doing things. And we're going to use this source, it's called pasted text, to help us kind of break down why that happens and what to do about it.
That's a feeling that a lot of people struggle with. They've got great ideas, but they just get stuck in their heads and never really take that next step.
Right. It's like that saying about spinning your wheels. Like you're putting in a lot of effort, but not actually getting anywhere.
A mental hamster wheel.
Exactly. A mental hamster wheel. But why does that happen?
Yeah.
What is it about overthinking that kind of stops us dead in our tracks?
Well, it's really interesting because our brains, they're wired to keep us safe. And sometimes that safety mechanism gets a little overzealous, I guess you could say. So when we overthink, we're basically trying to think of every possible thing that could go wrong. And we're trying to control for all of those things. And then we get so caught up in trying to find the right decision that we don't make any decision at all.
Like that fear of messing up just completely takes over.
Yeah, exactly. And, the more we overthink, the more complicated everything seems. And that just makes it even harder to actually do anything.
So it's like this vicious cycle almost.
Totally it is.
Pasted text actually talks about that. It says overthinking basically kills action.
Yep. That's really the main message here.
So then what's the way out? Because the source also mentions taking that first step and just going for it, trusting yourself and making adjustments as you go. But that can feel really scary, especially when you're already like deep in that overthinking spiral.
For sure, it can be intimidating. But think of it this way. Let's say you're in a new city and you want to explore. Are you going to stand on the sidewalk and plan out every single street you're going to walk down?
Probably not. I'd probably just start walking.
Right. You just start walking, and maybe you take a wrong turn, but you figure it out. You see new things, you adjust your route as you go. It's the same with anything you want to do, any decision you want to make. You got to start somewhere.
I love that analogy. That's so helpful. I actually catch myself overthinking even with small stuff, like what to make for dinner. Have you ever dealt with it? Like even just those everyday decisions can sometimes feel overwhelming.
Oh, absolutely. I think we all do to some extent. For me, it's about noticing when I'm doing it, that I'm going down that rabbit hole of overthinking, and then I try to shift my focus. Instead of getting lost in all the possibilities, I just ask myself, what's one small thing I can do right now to get started? Even if it's just picking up a cookbook or looking at a menu online, it's about getting unstuck.
Getting out of that headspace.
Yeah.
I like that. That makes a lot of sense. And one thing pasted text really emphasizes is its idea of trusting yourself, like believing in your ability to make good decisions. But how do we actually do that, especially when we're so used to second-guessing ourselves?
Well, I think it goes back to those small steps we were talking about. Every time you actually take action, even if it's something small and it works out, or even if it doesn't work out exactly as planned, but you learn something from it, that builds your confidence. It's like you're proving to yourself that you can handle things.
So it's like each little step is kind of a win, even if it's not perfect.
Right. And it's also important to remember that messing up is part of the process. I mean, nobody gets everything right all the time. So instead of seeing those mistakes as failures, try to see them as opportunities to learn and get better.
That's such a good way to think about it. And pasted text also talks about how the longer you wait to take action, the harder it gets. So what's the big deal about that first step? What makes it so important?
Well, it's like procrastination, The more you put something off, the bigger and scarier it seems in your mind.
Oh, yeah.
And that just feeds that overthinking cycle. But when you take action, even a small action, it breaks that pattern. And a lot of times you realize, oh, this wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
That's so true. I was actually supposed to start a new workout routine a while back, but I kept putting it off because I was trying to find the perfect playlist.
I know that feeling.
It was total procrastination disguised as overthinking.
Yeah, it happens. But think about how you felt once you finally started, even if it wasn't perfectly planned.
It was a relief.
Right. It's about making progress, not being perfect.
So let's bring this back to our listeners for a second. Think about something you've been putting off because you're overthinking it. It could be a project at work, a decision you need to make, or anything really. Just take a minute to reflect on how it feels to be stuck in that cycle.
Yeah, how does it make you feel? And what could you do, maybe using some of the ideas from pasted text, to break free and take that first step?
All right, so let's recap what we've learned from pasted text today. Overthinking can really stop us from taking action. But taking that first step, even if it's small, is key. And remember, we can always make adjustments along the way. It's about progress, not perfection.
Exactly. So as you go about your day, think about this. What's one tiny step you can take today towards something you've been overthinking? It could be sending an email,